everyone, I'm Monica May. We often hear of a son following in his father's footsteps, right? But what if your dad's a CPA and your degree is in music and history with an added sports background? But what if numbers just run through your bloodstream? Your path then is going to be to enter your dad's world. Well, Adam Markowitz did just that. And the rest, well, let's just say he's created his own history. I want to welcome Adam to our home tonight for One Take Live. Adam, how are you doing?
It's always a pleasure to do things like this. I'm so glad to be here with you today, Monica.
Thank you. What was it like going into your dad's business with no background in business, finance, or accounting? What was that like?
Well, the best news is about the whole thing is that my dad's my best friend. Right. Outside of my wife, there's my dad. And, either of those, anything happened to either of those two people, I'd be completely and utterly just crushed in my life. So I knew, the second I would sit down with my father to talk about anything, to talk about sports, to talk about women, to talk about life, to talk about accounting, it was all going to be very easy for me. So even though I didn't have any of that formal background, that formal training, Dad made it very easy for me. Because he knew how I thought, because I think like him. If you close your eyes and you kind of put 30 years on this face, you've got my father. That's basically what happened in life. So, there are often times that my father and I can speak to each other without speaking to each other because we just know what the other one is thinking, because we're just cut from the same cloth. So even though it seems like a very strange path, and it is a very strange path that I took to get here, once I got here, it was actually pretty darn easy in the grand scheme of things.
That's interesting that you would say that. And it's good that the numbers ran through your bloodstream, because walking into an accounting firm, I think would scare the average person. And it was interesting when we were getting ready and you said that one of the things that you had difficulty with was that calculus piece. And that prevented you from doing what?
Yeah, so I actually started, I went to Florida State, and I, from a tiny kid, wanted to be a meteorologist. I wanted to track hurricanes. I wanted to do all these cool things. I was an intern in the National Weather Service at Florida State. They have a branch up there for a year. And then I hit Calculus 2. And I was a great math student all through high school, all through, all grade school. And I hit Calculus 2, and I hit a wall with that class. Took it twice, couldn't pass it. And that was the end of me being a meteorologist. I was done at that point. I was basically told I had to forge a new path. So I just kind of went with what I kind of sort of thought I liked in the moment, and went and studied on that path. And though it didn't turn into a career for me, it gave me the piece of paper, it gave me the life experience, and it kind of pointed me in this direction. It was the start of the whole thing, more or less. Mm-hmm. Even though I had no clue it could have possibly taken me here.
It's interesting. You said, I don't remember a thing about that history degree, but music has always been your love. But unfortunately, you couldn't play your beloved trumpet.
Yeah, so I was a pretty good trumpet player in high school. And I had grandeurs of continuing to play, not necessarily professionally, but continuing to play throughout my life. And in my sophomore year of college, I developed acid reflux. And my gastroenterologist basically told me, you can keep playing if you want, but let me know when we're going to open you up and fix your ulcer or whatever bad happens to you. So I put on one more concert. I did everything I ever wanted to do, and I put it down in peace, pretty much. And I have only, even relatively recently, started to pick it up again this much. Right? I have no grandeur of ever being on any performing stage again, but so it was kind of like the second time in my life that I was told in a very short period of time, you're not doing what you think you're going to do. Mm-hmm. So I kind of had no choice but to create a path, as I realized, in 2007 when I was leaving Florida State, I don't have a job. I don't have a career. I don't have a job. I have no prospects. I have nothing. So what else am I going to do? I went home to work for the family business because that was pretty much the only really good option in front of me. And it was the only solid path I could possibly take.
So you got into that numbers thing, and there was one piece of advice that your dad gave you that had nothing to do with numbers at all. What was that?
Yeah. So first day I'm in the office, Dad and I moved home, lived with my parents for a little bit. And we drove out to our office and we sit down, and Dad's sitting across the desk from me. And he goes, "Son, here's your first lesson in accounting. You treat the person on the other side of the table like they're your grandmother." And that has forever and will forever stick with me, because what I do and what so many of us do in our lives, so many other people could do. There are lots of people out there who can push buttons and come up with the same result on tax returns that I do. But it's about how we treat people. It's about how we think of other people. It's about how we respect other people. And no matter what field you're in, if you keep that in the back of your mind, you're going to be in pretty good shape in all likelihood. And that was a not an accounting lesson, obviously, but a lesson that will forever go with me in life.
He gave you that sage advice, and that was really good. Treat the person across from you like they're your grandma. What do you think his advice has done to help you create an even broader platform for yourself and for your business?
Yeah, so it's always about the favorite part of my job is watching people get from A to Z, wherever they're at to wherever they want to go. And I play a really small role in the grand scheme of that for a lot of people. But if I can interject in ways that can help them get there, God, the best thing that I can do is to watch someone get from wherever they are to wherever they want to go, and to help them through all of the trials and tribulations that they face, as life comes up. Especially, here, who could have planned these last 15 months? No one could have possibly seen this coming. And watching everyone, again, just hit that bump that so many people hit, and watching people get over it and helping them get over it, I'll never have a better moment in my career than what I've gone through in the last 15 months.
Those 15 months, of course, he's referring to, or we all know it as COVID. What did you do with your dad's firm or with your firm during COVID that won you accolades from the West Orange Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah, so we were in a very interesting spot in March of 2020. We were having arguably the easiest tax season really we'd ever had. And I was on a pace to help more people than I'd ever helped before. And we ended up in this very weird spot where all of a sudden we weren't going to the office, we weren't doing tax returns, we weren't able to really do anything that we were doing. So, when PPP came out, and when the CARES Act passed late in March 2020, it felt like a higher calling per se to me, that I was able to look at the 6 or 7 or how many ever 100 pages the CARES Act was, and I was able to translate it into English for people. Because anybody can sit and read the words, but the words don't mean anything unless you can apply it. And what I decided with my father is that we were going to do everything to help everyone get out of this as quickly as possible, and with the most help we can possibly give them. And what that meant, it started with, and what I thought it was going to stop at, was PPP. Getting everybody their application set for PPP, going physically doing the applications, following up with all of the lenders to make sure that everyone got their money. And what we found as time went on is that we were stuck doing so much more. All the counties came out with grant programs that businesses were able to get. Individuals were able to get rental assistance. The Families First Coronavirus Response Act was able to put some money in some business pockets. So we kind of embraced all of that and said, we're going to help as many people as we can, that are clients, that are our friends, that are family, that are total strangers. Didn't matter to me. It still doesn't matter to me. If you are in need of coronavirus assistance and the money is out there, I'm going to go get it for you. And I'm not going to charge you a dime to do it, because I am blessed. I think it's a privilege to be able to work. I think I am very lucky that I have, I'm in the right profession, basically. I'm not a restaurateur. I'm not, a plumber. This field picked me, right? I got lucky. I happened to be in the right field. So many people who work so hard, so much harder than me, were not as lucky. And I felt like it was my job to help those people who were unable to help themselves because they just didn't know and they had no way of knowing. And the West Orange Chamber did recognize that, and I was awarded the Leader Out of Necessity Award for last year, and they gave that to me right at the end of the year. just for all the work that we've been doing throughout the community. Just in the West Orange Chamber, we did over, I think it was $560,000 worth of COVID-related relief just for chamber members. And that doesn't include the probably 120, 130 other people, along the way that we've been able to help with this.
So how much do you think overall you all were able to come up with?
We are coming up on $6 million of COVID-related relief, and we will go over that $6 million once the SBA starts funding some restaurants. And it keeps going. PPP only just closed a couple days ago. Employee retention credits are still going to be counted for a lot of businesses. There's still COVID sick credits, family leave credits that are out there. All sorts of stuff that is out there and will continue to be out there. As we continue to fight through this as a country. We're getting towards the end, but this is still the beginning of the end. And there's a long road to recovery for a lot of businesses. And we're going to be there for those businesses and those individuals who really need it.
Go ahead, Adam. That's why I wanted to have you on this evening. And what my headliner for you is he's not just your average CPA. He's not that bespectacled man that you see sitting back there. Yeah, he does wear glasses, but he's very personable. And he can break it down for you. I had an opportunity to be on one of the calls with the West Orange Chamber of Commerce, and we did this, I want to call it, what would you say we did? Where we did our breakouts with people, and I didn't know anybody there. And you hooked me up with probably the best woman that you could have. Nancy and I have had lunch together already. And she's just like a world of information, as are you. And I appreciate that about just the few people that I've met through the West Orange Chamber.
Nancy's the next one coming on this show, right?
Say it again?
Nancy's the next one coming on this show, right?
Well, you know what? Down the line, she certainly will. She certainly will.
Yeah.
What do you think the importance of a business joining the chamber actually is? What's it for them?
Yeah, so the West Orange Chamber is a very different place from what most people think about as networking, business networking events. There are other chambers of commerce out there that are your typical suits showing up to events and just drinks and food and these things and the good old boys, I guess, club, for lack of better terms, where it's just local businesses who stay in their own little bubble. And in the West Orange Chamber, and specifically in the networking group that I'm with, we like to branch out beyond just the typical stuffy sort of business owner. And we think that there is so many more ways out there that we can all help each other. You would not think that, somebody who sells cars, as an example, would be someone who I would be able to help out just from a business standpoint. But we do such a really good job of connecting people together. And when something comes up and it's, oh, I need a car. I'm just using this as an example. Mm-hmm. Oh, I need a car. And somebody says this to me who I meet at lunch one day. I am able to go, you know what? I know somebody in the West Orange Chamber, and I'm going to go send you to that person. And I know they're going to take good care of you. So it's not just who you know. It's about building good relationships with really, truly fantastic people. And we have so many genuinely great people in that Chamber of Commerce. It's over 8,000 people. I mean, it's a big, big Chamber of Commerce. So, there's a lot of people, and they're very powerful in the West Orange County area and throughout, most of Orange County. I'm so glad that I was finally able to be talked into joining this group. They were working on me for a while before I successfully joined a couple years ago.
Really? What would you say about its diversity, though? Is it coming about now, do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The West Orange Chamber is a very, very diverse group in terms of types of businesses that are in there, in terms of ethnicities, in terms of culture, in terms of age. I'm a 36-year-old businessman, and I'm sitting there and having lunch with people who've been doing this for longer than I've been alive. So, there's something for everybody in that chamber for sure. And what I tell people is, if you join the West Orange Chamber and you're there for a year and you don't get anything out of it, it's probably something you did, not something that they did in the grand scheme of things.
Okay. We've got time for one more question, and that would be, what advice would you give to someone who A, has an opportunity to partner in the accounting world like you did, or B, is just entering with, not like you, family ties? What would you tell them?
Run away while you still can. No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
Yeah, you know, it's have an open mind about what your job really is. The least, arguably the least important part of my job is actually doing taxes. It's the means to the end. It's what gets people to the end. It's why people hire me. But there's so much more we can do along the way. And if you just stop and listen to people and listen to what they're asking for and what they need, you'll find that you have a lot more answers for them than just what line does this go on my schedule one. You know, that there's so many more things that we can do. Be a good person. Answer your emails, answer your phone calls, make yourself accessible. Don't nickel and dime people to death. There's plenty of money to be made. And if you just treat people the way you would want to be treated in whatever field that is you're going out to, if you're going to a restaurant, if you're going to a bar, if you're going to buy a car, if you're going to hire an attorney, however you would like to be treated in that setting, if you follow that advice, you're probably going to be just fine in this field.
Treat the person across from you like they are your grandmother. Adam, thank you so much for being on with us. I told you it will be easy breezy and very informative. Adam Markowitz is not your average CPA. We've got the information on how they can follow you, and we appreciate you so much for coming on with us this evening.
Thanks so much, Monica. I appreciate it.
All right. And thank you for watching another edition of One Take Live.